For a project, a builder purchased 7 boxes of bolts, with each box containing 10 bolts. He ended up finishing the project 6 days early with 3 bolts left over. How many bolts did he use for the project? And that's what we need to figure out. We need to figure out how many bolts he used for the project. And the bits of information that the problem gives us is that he had 7 boxes of bolts, and each of those boxes contained 10 bolts. He finished his project 6 days early and ended up with 3 bolts left over. Now, the one piece of information that we do not need is we don't need to know that he finished the project 6 days early. We can cross that off because it doesn't matter if he finished the project in a day, a week, a month, or a year. That's not going to change the number of bolts he used. So we can get rid of that piece of information. So now I need to figure out how many total bolts he had in order to figure out how many he used. So he says he had 7 boxes and each box contained 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 7 big circles, and these big circles are going to represent the boxes of bolts. So there are 7 big circles to represent the 7 boxes of bolts. Each box contained 10 bolts, so I'm going to make 10 little circles inside of each one of these big circles. So I have 10 bolts here, 10 bolts here. I have 10 bolts in each one of my boxes. Now, to figure out the total number of bolts, I can either count all these little circles up, or I can do 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 to get the answer. And that's repeated addition, which repeated addition is the same as multiplication. So I can do multiplication here, and I have 7 groups of 10. So I have 7 times 10, and 7 times 10 equals 70. So I have 70 total bolts that he started the project with. Now it says he used all of them but 3. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cross out every single one of my bolts except for 3. So these 3 bolts are the remaining ones. These are the ones that he has left over. Now the question that we're asked is, how many did he use? So what we need to do is we need to take the total number 70 and subtract these 3 to figure out all these ones that I crossed off. Those are all the ones that he used. So we're going to take 70 minus 3 to figure out how many bolts were actually used in the project. So 70 minus 3. I cannot do 0 minus 3, so I need to borrow from my 7. My 7 becomes a 6, and my 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 3 is 7, and 6 minus nothing is 6. So he ended up using 67 bolts for the project.